Hello everyone, I am very very happy to be back here in Sapporo. We just had our first rehearsal with Don Quixote by Richard Strauss, and combined with this in this program we have Ravel's Daphnis et Chloe, both suites from the ballet. And these are two very, very different pieces, and this is the reason why we put them together, because one of these pieces, Don Quixote, is about a person who reads a book, and actually who reads many, many books, and is so fascinated by all these books that he wants to be one of these heroes of these books. And so he decides to be a knight, because all these books are about adventures and great achievements of knights. So he decides to be a knight and gives himself the name Don Quixote de la Mancha. And because a knight also needs a servant, he decides that his friend is going to be his servant, and so his friend is going to be Sancho Panza. And because a knight also needs a princess that he fights for, a girl from another village that is very nearby that he always liked, he is going to make her his princess and calls her Dulcinea. And his very old but very reliable horse he calls Rocinante. So he's all ready to have all different kinds of adventures. To give you a little musical run-through, a quick musical run-through, I think first of all it's important that we know that this piece is written as themes with variations. It's basically two main themes about the two main characters, Don Quixote and Sancho Panza. So this is Don Quixote's theme. But for now, we live with the very grazioso, but with Spanish grandezza, as Strauss says, with this theme. And this theme then, immediately in the introduction, is evolved into the Don Quixote who is reading several books and then already going a little bit crazy, and we can hear how he goes further in his thoughts and his fantasy. So we go, so everything is nice, I read my book, and maybe I am a knight. Oh yes, it's a nice idea. So with using this chromatic and going out of tonality, this is the way Strauss depicts this, that something is not quite right in the best sense. And then combined with this, after he's reading, immediately, of course, when the fantasy comes and the idea comes, and I'm a very, very great guy, of course he has to think of his beloved Dulcinea, his princess, or in other words, the girl from the next village, and she gets this theme. So that is Dulcinea's theme. And so those two themes, Don Quixote reading and Dulcinea's theme, are the two really singing and wide melodic themes. After this whole introduction, where more and more ideas come to Don Quixote and more adventures that he reads and more he becomes crazy, we actually end up with the theme that is then presented by the solo cello, Don Quixote's theme that we know already. And so on. This time in minor and very serioso. And right after that, because this theme is in minor, the other theme, Sancho Panza's theme, played by the bass clarinet and tenor tuba or euphonium, is presented, which goes like this. So this is Sancho Panza's theme. Combined with another little, Sancho Panza talks a lot more than Don Quixote, so he has a little bit more parts to his theme. Another one is this. So this is another one where he talks, and another one is... So many different adventures now. Every variation is one of the adventures. The first adventure are the windmills, and the windmills go like this. So they always circle. Wonderful way of depicting something that is just circling all the time, and then he fights against it, big crush. Second adventure is fighting against the sheep, who he again thinks are like very dangerous soldiers, but they're actually only sheep, and I leave this for you when you hear this in the concert. Then there's a very long variation, which is the conversation between Don Quixote and Sancho Panza, which has a lot of the elements, musical elements that I already showed you. Don Quixote's theme and Sancho Panza's theme and Dulcinea's theme. The next variation number 4, is his fight against the pilgrims. The pilgrims are depicted just by like a choral without any third. So. So on. Then a slow variation where he is in the night contemplating about many things. It's called the Nachtwache. Then we have the wrong Dulcinea, someone who, an imposter who we think is Dulcinea, but actually is not. Dulcinea, very fun variation, is variation number 6. Then a wonderful variation where he rides through the air. You cannot miss it because the wind machine is going very loudly. Followed by a variation number 8, which is about him riding on the not a ship, but like a Venetian gondola, something like that. The Baccarole. He fights against the monks in variation number 9, and then he meets his master in variation number 10, a knight that actually pretends to be another knight. It's actually a friend from his village, and to save him from getting completely crazy, he decides to look for him to pretend to be a knight to win the fight against him, so that Don Quixote has to come home and just relax a little bit and come back to sanity. And this knight, he is fighting in variation number 10, is a big fight that he loses, and therefore then needs to go home. And then we have the big finale where he then dies on his bed. So wonderful piece, full of parody, full of irony, full of an incredible way in which Strauss depicts several things like the windmills, or the monks, or riding through the air. It is certainly not film music, but it is music where we can immediately picture all these adventures in a great way. In the second part of our concert, we have Ravel's Daphnis and Chloe, which is an absolute masterpiece and one of the many ballets one of the many pieces that we owe to Diaghilev and the Ballet Russe in Paris at the beginning of the 20th century. Daphnis et Chloé was also written for the Ballet Russe, like Sacre and Firebird and The Fire, The Three Cornered Head, and so many other pieces. And so this piece is really like the opposite of what Strauss' Don Quixote is, about being completely in harmony with nature, not wanting to be anything else, not even wanting anything, just being. And it's a story that of course goes back to Greek mythology. Here in the two suites, it's very easily explained. Basically, Daphnis is a shepherd who is around the nymphs in the temple, and meets Chloe there, and they fall in love with each other, but Chloe is going to be abducted by the pirates, which is already the end of the first suite, a very wild dance. The pirates who do the wild dance. This is the end of the first suite. The beginning of the second suite is where Daphnis is very sad that Chloe is not with him. Meanwhile, Chloe though is freed and saved by Pan, because the god Pan wants to help. And basically then Daphnis and Chloe meet again, and they are very happy, which then ends in the Danse Générale at the end of the second suite. A very very free and incredible, like ecstatic and sensual dance. And I think the whole piece, the way Ravel has composed it, is a lot about sensuality, about atmosphere, about, it's almost like we can smell the air, we feel the atmosphere, we are right there. He writes a few chords or one melody, and we are immediately in a completely different world where we just want to either be part of or watch what's happening there. And I think this is the mastery of this piece, and all I can do is recommend to come to one of the concerts that we're doing this Saturday and Sunday, and enjoy two fantastic soloists we have, Julian Steckel at the cello and Takahiro Konoe at the viola, Don Quixote and Sancho Panza, and then the beauty and the capability of the Sapporo Symphony to create these colors and sounds that Ravel has composed.